never done that before, and I didn't even realize that because the person who showed me how to use this, that's what they explained. So, all right. So I'm going to do a share, and I'm going to do a screen. So let me ask right now, can you see a Teams calendar screen on your screen right now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, let me turn up. My sound is down very low too. All right, now if I go in and I change to this, now can you see the Word document for your homework?
Yes.
Well, that's great because that means that I won't have to constantly be doing all these screen shares, which I don't know about you, but I think is a really good thing.
Yeah,
all
that
right.
sounds great.
Yeah. So let me go over what we're going to do for the next couple days. All right. So this is the CH12 Labs new assignment. On there so far, we did the flashcard ones yesterday. So that one, I got an email from one of the students yesterday who said, hey, if you do these, do we still have to do them? Yeah, I'm expecting you to still do them. But if you run into problems, you can always go back and watch me do it on the tape. But yes, I mean, there's no better way to learn stuff than through repetition. So yes, you are still supposed to do these. So we did the flashcard one. You are responsible for doing the store inventory one, which is number 2. We're going to do the bank login today in just a couple minutes. All right. We did the game break one yesterday. We're going to do the job estimate one on Monday. It's a little harder because it has some sets in there too, and that's why I chose that one. And you will be responsible for the tile estimate one. So there are 6 problems on here, and I'm going to ask that you do all of them. Again, we're doing about half of them together. Now, as far as the other one with the new stuff, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like any of the problems. So as far as I'm concerned, for this other one that's called CH12 underscore labs underscore new P2, don't even do those. So you will be responsible for the 6 that are in here. But again, out of those 6, 1 and 3 and 4 and 5 we're doing together. So you only have 2 of them that you really have to do on your own. All right. And then there is 1 problem in the homework. So again, I'm assuming that you can now see the it says extra 12-1 on the top. Okay. And this is the homework problems. So there's only 1. In this exercise, it says you'll add a class to this inventory maintenance application and then add code. I'm not going to go through all that stuff. You can read all that on your own. All right. So again, when you are doing you have to do the written test for chapter 12. All right. For the labs, don't worry about the part 2 new. Just do the 6 problems and then do this problem. So that will be your homework. Now, one more thing regarding that, and then we're going to start up, and that is this morning. Oops, that's the other class. Try that again. This morning, hopefully you all got this from me. I sent this out. I sent you out a starter file for what we're going to do today, and I sent you out a starter file for what we're going to do on Monday. All right. And I also put in there our schedule basically for the next, I don't know, 7 class days, I guess. So today, as it says, we're going to do the LB3 underscore bank login. We're going to do that together starting in about 2 minutes. Tomorrow's a lab, no taping is done. On Monday, we're going to do the LB5 job estimate one. Again, I sent you some starter files for that one. I've decided that rather than Tuesday giving you a pretest and giving you a regular test on Wednesday, Tuesday is going to be a lab for the entire period. So we may be done today by 10 o'clock already. We may be done Monday by 10 o'clock already. And that's okay, because this stuff, it just takes a while to wrap your head around. All right. And on Tuesday, I will email you a pretest. I have written pre-tests for chapters 1 through 11, but I'm going to write a pretest for just for chapter 12, and I'll write that this weekend, and I'll send that out early next week. We'll go through the pretest on Wednesday, and I didn't put it on here, but we'll start at 9:30 like we always do. So if somebody wants to actually start on it that day, they'll be able to. So 1 week from today, next Thursday, will be your next hands-on test. And that hands-on test will be on chapter 12 only. All right. And as always, a week from Friday will be a lab. Now, one last thing to tell you. Yeah, you can see when the homework's due. That's not it. Fridays are lab days in here. Friday tomorrow will be lab for the entire period. Now, the only reason I'm telling you that is I didn't realize it, but in a couple weeks, my driver's license expires. All right, so I have to go get it renewed. And I talked to Mr. Corrigan about it, and he said, well, what are the hours for the DMV near you? And I said 9 to 5. And he said, don't you give lab on Friday mornings? And I said, yeah. And he said, then it's okay. Just go on a Friday morning, get your license renewed, and then come back. So what I'm telling you is tomorrow, probably between 8 and 9:30 or so, something like that, I won't be available because I'll be in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles. All right. But other than that, I should be available, and I should be available this weekend as well. All right. So with that said, let's get into this. And one last time, Grant, so you can now see on the screen my,
Yes,
so
I
you can see the
can.
program we're going to do.
I can, yes, but I don't think I got that email that you sent this morning.
Okay, let me resend it because for some reason I didn't either. It came up, it was in my sent
Okay.
folder, but for some reason, so let me quickly just jump back here because
Thank
this
you.
is it. That's it right there. And let's see. I'm just gonna grab this. I keep having to change the address book as people drop and don't drop or whatever. So let's see. Let me do a forward here. And I'll just put everybody in the class in there, and I'll forward me as well. All right. So that you should have that. And again, it should have those starter files in it. Now I'm going to get rid of this, and this is what I'd sent earlier. So let me just get rid of all that because it's not necessary. All right, so let me try to send it again. Didn't see anything that was in there that would make it not go through. So let's see. Normally, boom, it dings back to me right away and it says, so you tell me if you get it, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to resend it. I'll just resend it as another email. So you got no email from me this morning. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. I don't know what the heck could have happened. I always, for lack of better words, I pre-write these emails. So I'm going to do it again. Tell you what, I'm going to just literally create a brand new email in here right now. And let me grab everything. All I can think of is somehow there is something in that there is something in the zip file I sent you that was bad. I don't know what it could be, but let me do this. So this is just the thing. I'm not going to attach the attachment, but I just want to see if this goes through. All right. So let me do that. And, as a start, just to see if indeed that goes through. All right. So this should be an email. It won't have the actual files in it, but that's all right. So you should have gotten that already. Did that come through to you?
I do not have anything yet.
Thought I put that in there. Yep. it says right there, and 6 others.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're one of them. So I
I
don't know.
just got it.
Okay, you got it. All right, let me come in there again, and I'm going to grab that same email. I don't normally do it like this, but you know, whatever. Whoop, not there. Like I said, I'm just going to grab that same email. And I'm going to attempt to attach. There it is. Browse this computer. This is it right here. Like I said, unless there's something in there, and I don't know what it could be. So let me send that. No, it's not dinging, which is bad news. So what I had to do to get this to work was I took um, the program that I had created and I stripped all the code off of it. But when I did that, I had to go and move it around and stuff. So it's possible that something in there got hosed. All right. Let me do this because I don't want to waste a lot of time doing it. So what I'm going to do is, believe me, I will send you a copy of the starter files. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to get into here and I want to start to create the program. All right. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so I will send you this. I guarantee you I will send you this and I'll look at it during the break. All right. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to just literally, I'm going to start working on it right now. Now let's first take a quick look at, geez, I love this now that we're able to do this. But let's take a look at what this says. Create a prototype for an online bank, which requires an account number and a PIN number to log in. So you can see, what do we have here? We're going to have to make an account class that's going to have 4 fields in it. An account number, which is a string, a PIN number, which is a string, a name, which is a string, and a balance, which is a decimal. Okay, good. This is going to be this is going to be our constructor where we'll pass everything in. Then again, you'll notice that we have get account number, get PIN, get name, and get balance. All right. Now, rather than a set balance and a etc., we've got a make deposit and a make withdrawal. So you can see what this is going to look like when we get it done. And again, that's the one that I built. So if you click the deposit, you'll notice in there right now, for instance, you can't make a negative deposit. You can't leave, if you're going to click deposit, it shouldn't be blank. It shouldn't be non-numeric. And same with withdrawal. All right. You can't withdraw a negative amount. You can't deposit a negative amount. All right. And withdrawal, that right now you can see that the account balance for Mr. Smith is $10,000. So I can't go in there and attempt to withdraw $25,000 because I don't have the funds. All right. So again, name of our class, the name of our instance variables, our constructor. We'll have a get account number, which will get a string, a get PIN, which gets a string, a get name, which gets a string, and a get balance, which gets a decimal. A make deposit, where we have a decimal amount that we want to deposit. A make withdrawal that has a decimal that we want to withdraw. Then, as you can see in here, we've got other methods. Login, as it says, and accepts an account number and a PIN number as strings. So here and here. And then you click login. All right. So literally it says if it's valid, it logs the user in, gives them a welcome message like this. All right. And displays their balance, which you can see right here. Okay. If it's invalid, it logs out the previous user and displays an error message. We'll talk about that because it's not shown on here, but you'll see it in just a minute. The log out logs out the active user. So you can't do anything when you bring the program up until somebody logs in. All right. And again, to log in, they have to give a correct account number and a correct PIN. The make deposit, as it says, it accepts a deposit amount as a decimal and it displays the updated balance, and the withdrawal does the same thing. All right. Now that's it. One thing I put in here, you didn't have to do this, but this is the way that I wrote it. And that was that you have to have a minimum balance of $25. All right. I mean, I know there's some accounts that literally you can keep a penny in them or whatever, but I just set it up like that. Again, it's not that we had to do that. That's just the way that I set it up. All right. Any questions on anything that's in here?
No.
Okay. Then let's go in and start writing some code. All right. So I came and I immediately came in. It's already here, but I right mouse clicked on the name of my project, chose add, the name of the project, there it is, and chose add, and then chose class. All right. And there's the account class right there. I stripped all the code out of it. All right. And it came up and it originally said internal class account, and I want to change that. And I could either leave it at class or make it public. I have a tendency to take all of my classes and make them public. That way, if I ever decided I wanted to have a bigger program that was going to bring into it a lot of different programs that I was going to combine together, all right, I'd be able to do that because they'd be public. All right, so the first thing I did in here was I did set up a constant. And I said public, and I made it public so I can use it all over the place in my program. Remember, since it's a constant, that's okay to do that. And I called it minimum balance. Minimum balance. And I set it equal to 25.00 M. And I did that, and I gave it a long name like that just because I don't want to have to even write a comment. I mean, you should be able to, anybody should be able to look at that and understand what that is. All right. Okay. So I created my instance variables next. Now, when we go back again and we look back in here, we had only 1, 2, 3, 4. We had an account number, a first, basically a name. I broke that down because I wanted a first name and a last name. All right. Why? Because I thought that was more reminiscent when you set up an account of what you do. I also put a title in there. So for it, it's, I could put Mr. or I could put Ms. or Mrs. or Miss, whatever. You didn't have to do that. Again, it's just the way that I wrote it. But I looked here and it said, welcome, Mr. Smith. And I thought, well, the person's name isn't going to be Mr. Smith. So that's why, like I said, I decided to go in and add a title. All right. So the reason I'm telling you that is in here in my instance variables, I actually have 6 of them. And 5 of the 6 are going to be read only. In other words, the title, the first name, the last name, the account number, and the PIN are all read only. The balance, of course, I would not want to make read only because that could constantly be changing. Now, when you think about that, you can say, well, what about, if you've got a female in there who gets married and she changes her name? I wasn't worried about that. All right. I mean, that's way beyond the scope of this program. So again, I had private, read only, string, and I'm going to make 5 of these. So I just grab this. All right, I'm going to put them in there right now. So the first one will be underscore title. The next one is underscore first name. The next one is underscore last name. The next one is underscore account number. The next one I just called pin, so underscore pin. I could have called it pin number. I thought later, but hopefully that makes enough sense. And the last one is a private decimal, and it is underscore balance. Okay. Now, again, I'm just asking for edification purposes. Is there anything in there that doesn't make sense? Anything?
I think this makes sense so far.
Okay. So then we've got the constructor. So, we have public. Remember, it's always got to be the same name as the name of our class, which is account. All right. So I've got a string title, a string. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just use well, I tried to do that and it didn't work, but that's fine. I get rid of that. The Intellisense is both a blessing and a curse. All right. So let me go back to this. All right. I'm gonna write the constructor by hand. So constructor, public, account. We've got a string for the title. I'm just gonna put this over 6 different lines, 5 different lines, so you can see everything I'm doing. A string for the first name, a string for the last name, a string for the account number, a string for the PIN, and finally, a decimal for the balance. Oops, try that again. There we go. All right. And as you guessed, now I can start using the Intellisense. I'm going to put in my title, then my first name, then my last name, then my account number, then my PIN number, then my balance. So in other words, I do not have a parameterless constructor here. What that means is it will be expected that every time I create a new bank account object, that I pass into it all of this stuff. All right, a title, a first name, a last name, an account number, a PIN, and a balance. The reason that that is important is when we switch back to the regular program in a couple minutes, I'm going to set up a list and I'm going to put 5 customers in it. All right. And for each one of those customers, I am going to add a title, a first name, a last name, an account number, a PIN number, and a balance. All right. Anything that we've gone over thus far, anything at all that doesn't make sense.
I think this does so far, yeah.
Okay. So then I'm going to put in, for lack of better words, what I typically call my getters. All right. And as I mentioned to you earlier, when you look at these fields right here, the only one that only technically should be changing on a regular basis is the balance. So I'm going to put in here public string get title, if I can spell, get title, and it will return underscore title. So we're going to have 5 of these that we write. All right. So next will be public string get first name, which will return underscore first name. All right. Then we will have public string get last name, which again will return our underscore last name. All right. Next, we will have our account number and our PIN. All right, and finally, we'll have the one for our balance. This one, of course, won't be a string, it'll be a decimal, and it'll be get balance. All right, and we will have return underscore balance. Now, with what we've written thus far, we have now gone in and we have this set up, we have this set up, we have this set up. So what's left to do in this particular class is to set up our make deposit and our make withdrawal methods. All right, you can see how they both are set up right there. All right, they're not going to return anything. All right, and they're going to take in a decimal amount for both of them. I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I do want to say it again. I think I mentioned yesterday, when you've got minus signs here, that means all of this stuff should be private. When you've got plus signs like here, that means they should be public. And one of the things I mentioned yesterday was that when you think of, a very, very, very simple, way too general, but simple definition of object-oriented programming, it's the use of public methods to manipulate private data. And you can really see that in this example because all of our data is private and all of our methods are public, as is the class. All right, so let's go write the make deposit and the make withdrawal methods, and then we will be done writing the class, and then we can go back and look at the interface. All right, so we'll have in here public void make deposit, and it will pass in a decimal that's called amount. And just to keep it simple for right now, I'm going to make the other one too. I'll put the code in just a minute, but I'm going to have a public void make withdrawal. And again, it'll have a decimal and it'll be amount. Now we still have to fill these in, but what I have done now is, other than writing the code for these last two methods, we have come in here. All right, we have come in here and basically we've come in and we've set everything up that was in the requirements. All right, now we've got to write the code in here to make this work. Okay, now I already mentioned this, but it is possible when you attempt to go in and make a deposit, it's possible that it will fail for whatever reason. And I even gave you the reasons. I said it could fail because we put nothing into the text box, or we put something non-numeric into the text box, or we put something into the text box that is negative. All right. So what I did here was I created a variable that's called the deposit. And right now, it's going to be reset, but I just set it to -1. It's purposely set to a bad value. Now I'm going to try to make a deposit. This thing right here, this is not this. This that you see in blue right there, that is what gets passed into, the program. That may be empty, non-numeric, or negative. Or it could be, $50 that we wanted to deposit. So it could be good, it could be bad. So in other words, the reason I'm telling you that is I put this into a try-catch block. So I'm going to do a try here, and then I'm going to have a catch in here as well. All right. And coming in here, I'm going to say, okay, attempt to make deposit. All right. You already know this. All right. You already know this, that this can possibly fail. Now, I could come in and I could bring in the validator class and we could check for a minimum and a maximum, and I could bring in, or we could check in there to make sure that it is decimal, etc. I didn't do any of that stuff. And if you say, well, geez, then why didn't you do that? Well, this class itself, we're about a little more than halfway through writing it, but the actual program itself, I put a ton of comments in there, okay? But with the comments, it's upwards of 400 lines. And I figured that if I added those other classes and whatever, now it would be closer to 600 lines. And I just thought that was too much stuff to put in here. All right. So I just basically set this up my own way. Okay. So all I did was check for a negative deposit in here. I did not even check for it being blank. I did not even check for it being non-numeric. Okay, so really what I should do is I should have come in here before we did anything. And I should have said, if the amount is equal to nothing, just return, because there's nothing to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I should have really come in and said something like, if amount equal nothing, all right, well, I'd have to do a toString on it because it's a decimal. So if amount toString is equal to nothing, then basically there's nothing to do. So I should have just done like a return here. All right. Then I could have also come in and I could have tried to do, and then I know something's in there, right? So if I get to this point, something's in there. All right. So I could, put here, check for no input. So if I get down here, there is input. Make sure it is numeric. All right. So I could have come in here and I could have said, I'd have to put another variable up here. So I'd say bool. This is the same kind of thing we have done in the past. So I'm going to say here bool result. Result. All right. And then I could come in here and say result equals decimal dot try parse. What are we trying to parse? That amount that we just passed in. All right. Okay. And let's see. I can still say a .toString. It's not going to matter. And what do I want to put it into if it works? The deposit. All right. So if it would return a failure, that would mean I put in here something non-numeric. So if not result, right? Again, there's nothing special I want to do here. I could come up and give a message box, I guess, and say message box dot show. I'm writing this literally in front of you. This is not the code I wrote. So there is a chance that what I'm doing here may fail, but I don't think it will. So we could come in here and say non or illegal non-numeric input for deposit. All right. And then we could put this in here as we've done in the past. So illegal deposit attempted, and then come in and put in our message box button with an OK in there. And then this actually is an error. You're attempting to do something that is illegal. All right. And then again, I could just say return. So if I get down to this point, I know that I've got a number in there. Now, that's almost review, but I'm asking you, Chad, and again, sorry, you're the only one here. So is what I've done up to this point, does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, we'll run it later, and I'll try putting nothing in there and see if it just returns. I'll try putting something non-numeric and see if we get that. It may fail. I don't know why it would, but it's always possible that it'll fail. All right, so when I get down to here, okay, what that means is what I put in here in the deposit, it was valid. All right, whatever we put in for an amount was a number. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when I come in my try, all I did here was I said, if the deposit is less than or equal to 0, that doesn't make any sense. I know you know that. So I just grab this again, this code, and I'll do that. And I'm not going to say illegal because it's, I mean, I don't know what would happen. I have absolutely no idea what would happen if I walked into a bank and if they said, what can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'd like to deposit nothing. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. All right. So I'm just going to put in here illegal deposit, period. Illegal deposit. And I'll put in here less than or equal to 0. And again, we'll say illegal deposit attempted. But here it was non-numeric, and here it's 0 or negative. Okay, so if I get down to this point right here, the deposit was valid. Okay, it was valid. So what? Well, I want to add it to my balance. So I can say underscore balance plus equal the deposit. Okay, does that all make sense? Anything in there that doesn't?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Now, to catch, I don't know what could happen, but I'll just say catch exception. I'm just going to put, something general, just a general thing in there that says that. And I'm going to return, but just to be sure, I'll again print this out. And all I'm going to say in here is unknown error occurred. Okay, something like that. All right, so unknown error occurred. And I'm not going to put the legal deposit, but I'm just going to say error. But I will also add to this, put a couple of \n's in here and add to this the message. So I'm going to say ex.message. So if something did go wrong, at least I will have or should have some kind of an idea of what it was. All right, that's the whole thing for the make deposit. Now, I'm asking you this question because I don't know. Does everything that we've done in there make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna cheese out a little bit here, and what I mean is I'm gonna copy this whole routine and I'm gonna plop it right into here. I'm gonna make some changes, of course, but at least it got me started. Okay. So it won't be the deposit, it'll be the withdrawal. So that's going to make a bunch of errors in here, but we'll fix those. So again, I'll say if there was nothing added, we'll just return. All right, there is input, so we'll make sure that it's numeric. And if it was, we'll stick it into the withdrawal. All right. And if it wasn't, we'll say illegal non-numeric attempt for withdrawal. What doesn't it like here? Because I spelled withdrawal wrong. There we go. All right. And then we'll come in here and we'll do this. And now again, if the withdrawal is less than or equal to 0, we're going to say, again, this has got to say now withdrawal. Let me just grab that. And illegal, withdrawal attempted. This will say illegal withdrawal also. But rather than adding, that'll be a minus equal, and that will be the withdrawal. All right. So you were pretty much doing the same thing, but we're not done yet. All right. Right now, would that work? The answer is most of the time, but if you remember earlier, I gave you this scenario where I said, what if I have $10,000 and I attempt to come in and withdraw $25,000? All right. That should not work. So rather than just coming in here and doing it, we'll put in a comment. I want to put in a comment here too. Legal value inputted for deposit. Actually make the deposit update balance. Okay. All right. So that was legal, and we're going to put a similar thing in here too, but we're going to have to add something first. So I'm going to put the comment in there. All right. So it is a legal value inputted for withdrawal. All right. I'm not going to say actually make this. I'm going to say check if funds are available. And then if funds are available, make withdrawal. If funds not available, don't allow withdrawal. All right. Well, how do we know what that is? You know what I'm saying? Well, what we have to do basically is we have to go in and say, well, if we took our balance and subtracted the withdrawal from it, what's left? All right, we have to do that first. So I'm going to make another variable up here in my make withdrawal. All right. And I'm just going to, make it simple. I'm going to call it amount left. All right. I'm going to set it equal to 0M. And really this here should have been -1M. All right. But right now, and I should make them both, I should just be consistent. So amount left. So if I get down to this point right here where I want to see if I can make a withdrawal, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say amount left equals balance. Write that again. Equals balance, which remember is underscore balance minus the withdrawal. Now I can check. All right. And I can say basically, if the amount left is greater than or equal to that $25, which we put in there as that minimum balance, then we'll allow it. Otherwise, we'll create yet another message box and we'll say the, insufficient funds or something like that. So again, I'm going to say if what's left, which is our amount left, if that's greater than or equal to the minimum balance, meaning after we attempt to make that, we still have 25 or more dollars left, then allow that to happen. All right. Otherwise, so else, and I'm going to again just grab the message box. I should have just written a generic message box thing, but I didn't, and it's okay. So I'm going to say in here, insufficient funds for withdrawal. And I'll just say again, insufficient funds right here. All right. And again, if something else happened, it should catch it there. Now, we're not going to be able to actually test this stuff until we go in and we write the actual GUI part of the program and make the buttons work, etc. But my question for you is, with all the stuff we put in there, because this is the biggest class we've created so far, with all the comments and the message boxes, etc. I put in here, It's 180 lines basically. Is there anything that you need me to go over with you again? Anything you need to see? Anything you need further explanation on? Anything?
I think, most of the stuff we've been doing before with the actual, like what we were just working on, but I guess where
Right.
I'm not totally clear is like the communication between the two classes.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So let's hope that that becomes a little more apparent in just a couple minutes.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here and, well, let me do a file save all. And again, there could be errors in here. There's nothing that's coming up as a syntactic error. But when we run it later, we may find out that some of the stuff that I did up here is either unnecessary or maybe it even breaks the program. I couldn't see how that would happen, but anything's possible. All right. So for now, I'm going to close that account class and I'm going to bring up what we've got for this. And again, I'll have to rebuild this and send it to you. Okay, I will do that as soon as we're done with the lecture today. I will, rebuild it and send it out to everybody. All right. So I've got a bunch of methods in here. I've got a bunch of other stuff, and I commented stuff up the wazoo. What I mean is we're already halfway through building this because I said it was around 400 lines, but you can see I put comments everywhere because I figured I want people to understand what the heck is going on. All right. So I have one constant in here, and we have a very small bank. And what I mean is we only have 5 customers. All right. Again, so we are going to assume bank has 5 total customers. All right. Now, could we make it work without that? The answer is yes, we could do that. All right. But again, like I said, that's not the way I did it. And it's not that it couldn't be done that way. It's just that I decided to do it this way. And again, the reason for that is, okay, I wanted this to make as much sense to people as possible. All right. Whether I succeeded or not, you and all the other students are going to be able to tell me. Now, the next thing I did was I created the list, and my list basically was set up to hold 5 customers. But what I did not do is I did not initialize it here. Rather, what I did was I initialized it in my forms load event. Could I have initialized it right here? The answer is yes. Of course I could have. Is there an advantage to doing it in the load event? The reason I did it that way is many programs, all right, declare their variables up here, but don't actually initialize them in there. Constants are a different animal because you have to initialize a constant when you declare it. But many programs do it more like this. All right, so again, I had some global variables in here. And it's 8:54. I'll go till 9, then we'll take a break. All right, so the first thing I had was a list. And notice if I come in here and put in an A, CCO, it comes up with a count. It sees it, which is good. And I let the Intellisense click in here or come in. And I've got in a list of accounts, and it's called accounts. Okay. But again, I'm going to put that into the load event in just a minute. So here's my other things. So I said int valid, and these will all make sense when we get to there on the page. Account number locate equals -1. And again, if that makes no sense, just hold on for a bit. Int valid PIN number location is also equal to -1. Whoops. All right. And finally, I had a Boolean that's called you're logged in. And I set that equal to false. So those are my 3 global variables, and there's my global list. All right. So what I did, and I'm going to put this in and then we're taking a break regardless of what time it is. All right. So what I did next was inside of my load event. So when the form loads, so I double clicked here, and in the load event, I set up my 5 different customers. All right. So I'm going to just set up one and then I'm going to copy it 4 times. So it's accounts.add, and it's going to be a new account. And remember, the Intellisense will kick in here. It's telling us we need a title, which is a string, a first name, which is a string, a last name, which is a string, an account number, which is a string, a PIN number, which is a string, and a balance, which is a decimal. So it's telling us, and always, use what you've got, for lack of better words. All right. And when I did this, all right, I just grabbed everybody in my family. So I said here, Ms., use my wife first, Sandy, Scott, whoops. And I'm going to put this over multiple lines just so you can see all of it. So again, there's the title, there's the first name, there's the last name. So next we need an account number. All right. And then we need a PIN number. And finally, we need a balance. All right. And you should notice there's no errors there now because we have totally filled everything in. So for our first account, we have a title, a first name, a last name, an account number, a PIN number, and a balance. So let me copy this down. All right. Don't worry, that's fine. We're going to fix all this in a minute. All right. And I just, went on the spectrum here. So this was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And this was 3, 4, 5, 6. So this was 4, 5, 6, 7. And I just give myself a different amount in here. So 2,500 M. All right. And my daughter, even though she's married, I'm just going to put in her maiden name. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1. And this will be 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll give her a different amount so we can use some dollars and cents in here. So 1,345,6.78 M. All right. Next will be my other 2 daughters. So okay. Why does it give me an error here? So it says account does not have a constructor that takes 7 arguments. So I put in one too many things here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there should not be a comma there. That should be a decimal point. All right. So all we've done so far is we have come in, we created our account class. Now we set up our load event. So when we come back from the break, we're going to fill in each one of these things that's in here. So again, we want to make sure that when we click this button or this button or this button or this button, that they react. Okay. So let's take a break. It's 9:01. Let's come back, please, at 9:15. All right, it is 9:15, so I'm going to start back up again. And I guess the most logical place to start would be with the login. And as it says right there, this method is called when the user clicks the login application button to try to log in to the prototype. So rather than doing it like this, again, what I did was I ended up writing a try to modularize. So I wrote a routine that I called login. And I don't know why, but normally when I write them, I put this in lowercase. So let's just do that. All right. And then let's write that right underneath here. So it's private, void, login. And again, this is the stuff that we're attempting to do when we log in. All right. The first thing technically that we have to check for when they log in, there's got to be something here and there's got to be something here. So really the first thing we should check for is are either the account number or the PIN number, are either one of them missing? Because if either one's missing, there's really no sense in going on. There's no way that you can successfully log in. And again, like I said, that's the way that I handle this. So I came in here and some of this stuff isn't going to make a lot of sense. I wrote this program a year ago, and I did a little bit of updating and upgrading on it yesterday. But I remember when I went over this last year and one of the students asked me, they said, why did you do it like this? And I don't know about you and the way you program, any of you watching this, but if you asked me to sit down and write this same application that we're just doing right now, if you asked me to do it again, there's virtually zero chance I would do it exactly the same way as I'm doing it right now. All right. So sometimes, why did you do it that way? Just because I did. All right. So I've got 3 Boolean variables in here, and I call this missing info. And I believe it or not, I set it equal to true. And this will be my first program continue variable. Then I had another one that was called bad account number. And I set that equal to true. And this, whoops, this is my second program continue variable. And I've got another one, bool bad PIN number. And that is my third program continue variable. Now, if you would, for just a second here, play computer. And what I mean is, if you don't understand what these 3 things mean, again, any of you, I'm not picking on you, Grant, but I mean, if any of you don't understand what these 3 things mean, start to think about it. And what I mean there is this. If you've got nothing in there at all, if you've left one field empty, or if you've left the other field empty, or if you left both fields empty. So if it was any one of those 3 different things, then there's missing info. All right. If you put in a PIN number that is valid, but you put in an account number that is invalid, it's a bad account number. So we're going to be going and looking through our list of account numbers. And you remember they went 123-456-789, etc. But if we put in there 667 -667-667, there isn't an account by that name or that number. So that's where the bad account number would be found. And PIN would be the same type of way. All right. So this missing info right here, right now it's set to true. I'm going to assume we left something off. So I'm going to say missing info equals, and we're going to write this routine in just a minute, is any login info missing. All right. And we're going to write that. In fact, I think it's probably down here already. There it is. And we'll write that in just a second. Okay. But hopefully, at least, that what we're going to be doing in there makes some sense. Now, in the past, I've used this and I've called it keep going and whatever, but that's not exactly what I'm doing right now because, again, I have a lot of different scenarios. The only way that I want to actually let somebody log in is if there's something in there, if there's something in there, if this is in the list, and if this is in the list, and if these two match for the same customer. If there's anything that's wrong about that, I don't want to go on. I do not want to let the user log in. All right. And again, my hope is at least by saying that, that all makes sense. All right. One of the reasons that I set it up like this and I wrote it the way in which I did is most, I'm not going to say every, but most of the routines I created for this program are smaller. You can see all of them on one screen at a time. All right, which makes them easier to debug. So let's go into this right here where we've got this, is any login info missing? I'm going to get rid of this. We might return false. All right, and that's going to come up with an error now because there's no return value, but I'm going to put everything in there. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's see. I preface these with text box instead of txt. Like I said, I wrote this a while back. So text box welcome info dot text. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing in it. I'm not going to welcome anybody because there might be missing info. All right. So string output str equals, and it's going to just basically say account number and PIN number are mandatory. All right, I'm just going to let you know that from the get-go. Hey, you've got to put in both of these. All right, that's not all I'm going to let you know, though. Okay, so the output str plus equals, and remember, this isn't a text box, so I need a \r\n so that it goes onto a new line. Let's put a couple of them in there. Oops. So another \r\n. And it's going to say account number must be in number dash number dash number format. All right. And again, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that the person who runs the program knows what the heck it is they're supposed to be doing. All right. Let me copy this because now we're going to write a similar thing for the PIN number. So this one will say PIN number must be, and I believe we just had that as, what was it? It was down here. 4 digits. So that must be in number format. Now, I could have made even a better explanation and said where each N is a number, but I thought that people could probably get it and understand that. All right, so this will say please try again and enter both, enter both values, both legal, or both values legally. Maybe not the best explanation, but at least hopefully that makes some sense. All right, now I'm not printing anything out yet. I'm just setting up the string that I'm going to print out if either one of these are blank. All right, so if I'm going to check for blank on either one of these. So if either text box account number dot text dot trim equal nothing, or text box PIN number dot text dot trim equals nothing. Well, I know if that is the case, all right, if that is the case, something was hosed. And what I mean is we left one of them blank. All right, so that's what we're checking for right there. That should have moved over, but it didn't. There we go. So if that's the case, all right, I want to make sure that that welcome info, it already should be empty because I emptied it out right here. But I'm going to take that welcome info dot text, and I'm going to set it equal to our output string. All right. So again, if you come in here, all right, if you come in here and you leave one of those two fields empty, it's going to print out this big long message in here. All right. Now I'm looking here. Do I have one too many? So 1, 2. That one ends 1, 2. I think I might have one too many there. There we go. Okay. So if that's the case, the other thing that I want to do is I want to clear out anything that's in there. So I'm going to write a routine down here that's just called clear login fields. All right. And I'm going to return true. Now that might look a little weird. All right. I could use ret val, etc. in here. You get all that stuff. All right. But it's called is any log info missing? If this is the case, it is true. There is login info missing. So if I get down to here, I can return false. Again, the other way I could have written that, maybe would have been cleaner, would have said bool ret val equal, and let's say we'll make it false. We'll assume that you did fill in information. So here we would say ret val equal false. All right, or true, I should say. And return ret val. So again, as I mentioned before, every time you come in here and you start typing something in like this, all right, you're tweaking the program. Okay, and that's pretty much what I'm doing right here. Now, this thing, clear login fields, that's pretty simple. I just want to clear out both text boxes, and I want to set the focus to the account number. All right, so let's find that. It's down here a little bit, unfortunately, but it's just 3 lines. So it's text box account number dot text equals double quote, text box PIN number dot text equals double quote, and text box account number dot or focus. And I want to say something. I may have said this before, and what I'm about to tell you right now may sound really elementary to you. And if it does, great. All right. And that is this. Maybe you've seen this before. Either, you've used a computer at some time in your life where you log in, they ask for a username and they ask for a password. All right. And you put one or the other, or maybe even both, but you put something in incorrect. If that ever happens, you should get a generic error message. In other words, it shouldn't come back and say, if there's a login and a password, it shouldn't come back and say password incorrect, because then that might mean very well that the login was correct. And if I'm a bad person trying to break in to a bank or something else as somebody else, now I've already got a username. Same kind of thing, you know, if the username is correct, but there's a bad password, you get the idea. So a lot of times what you'll see is a very generic message that says something like username and or password incorrect, try again. You should get used to writing code like that, is what I'm telling you. All right. All right. So we've now gone in and we have checked for missing information. Okay. So I'm coming back up here, and here's where we call that. If it's true that there is missing information, we can just return. There's no sense in going on because one or both of those text boxes were empty. So if missing info is going to return, I don't need to put up a message box. We already did that. All right. Now, I'm not sure if what I'm about to do will work or not, but let's do a file save all and let's run it. So let's run it and let's put nothing in there and see if I get the message inside of here. So I'm putting nothing in there. All right. And you can see it looks good right now. I probably could even make it a little bigger, or I could shrink the size of that box. It's fine the way it is. But you hopefully can follow along and you see where we built that output string. All right. And you can see where we're printing it out. Plus we put that back here. All right. Now, if we put in something here and nothing here, we should still, the same thing happens. If we put in something here and something here, then you'll notice we still have validation to do. But right now it is handling either both fields being empty, all right, or one field being empty, or the other field being empty. That's good. That's a good start. So that says we have now handled missing account number and or missing PIN number. So again, you already know this, but if we get to here, both the account number and the PIN number were filled in. Now validate both. All right. Not in the same routine. And so now hopefully you see that was the flag for nothing. This will be the flag for validating our account number. This will be the flag for validating our PIN number. So we are going to come in here. I'm going to write them both, but I'm just going to say add account number. And that's going to be equal to validate account number. And we're going to pass into that the text box and the text that's in there. So text box, text box, account number dot text. All right. I really should have probably come in here and done some work with tags, etc., but I didn't. All right. No excuse. I just didn't. All right. So we're now going to have to validate the account number, and then we're going to have to validate the PIN number. So we are writing different routines to do both of those. And they're both going to be very short. All right. But you might say, well, couldn't you have just written one? All right. And the answer is probably you could have. You probably could have. All right. But the reason that you don't want to do that is it is possible, in this case, the format is different on both. Number, dash, number, dash, number versus 4 numbers. But there might be some extra validation that you want to do. All right. Maybe later the PIN number changes as far as how it's set up. Maybe you decide instead of that, you're going to do something else. All right. So that's why I set it up the way I did. So let's go and find both of these. Let's write both of these. So the validate account number, again, about 10 lines of code maybe. So I put here, let's see, my valid account number location equals -1. What the heck is that? That is where in my list of customers, which one is going to hold that. And again, what I'm saying is this, maybe you already get it. But if it happens to be that I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that means that the location will be 0. If I put in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, then the location will be 4. But the reason I want to do that is this should only match this. In other words, if I put in 1, 2, 3-4, 5, 6-7, 8, 9, and then I put in 5, 6, 7, 8, that's invalid. I have a valid account number and a valid PIN number, but they don't match each other. So it's the account number for one customer and a PIN number for another. All right. And again, like I said, hopefully just saying that like that made at least some sense. All right. So we're coming in here and we're going to do that. Then I have to search for it. Search list for inputted account number. And we'll just use our old for loop. And we put in here accounts.count because, again, it would be possible as we go on to add additional functionality into this program where, all right, we would be able to add additional functionality into this program where, all right, we'd be able to add more add customers. All right, we don't have that functionality now, but maybe later we would. All right. So if the account number, and that's the account number, AN. So if the account number is equal to accounts, LCV, and looky dot, here's the first time we're going to be using our class. Get account number, we found a match. All right. So the valid account number location is going to be equal to, whoops, this thing here. All right, that's going to be equal to, all right, LCV. That's the place in the list that holds it. Now, I can't explain to you why I return false here and otherwise return true, but it's just the way I wrote it and it works. So I said here return false. Technically, we did validate it and it's there. I should have returned true here, but for whatever reason, I wrote it the way I wrote it. So I put return true here. All right. Okay. Doing the other one where we're validating the PIN is, in essence, it's the same thing, but instead of account number location, it's PIN location. And instead of get account number, it'll be get PIN number. So let me just copy all this code in here. And I'm going to put it in here. All right. Now, again, it's PN for PIN number. So this will be PN right here. All right. This is valid PIN number location. All right. As is this. And this is get PIN number. And again, I know, Grant, when we talked about this yesterday or the day before, I don't remember, and you were starting to tell me some of the stuff that does or doesn't make sense. And this is just called get PIN, not get PIN number. That's why I got the error. All right. You said you were starting to understand it, but in trying to see how stuff fit together. Well, now I've got this valid PIN number where I'm validating something. Not only can I use it for a bank account, but I can use it for, basically I could put this kind of thing in for anything that has an account number and a PIN number. So if I wanted to get in, let's say, to do something to pay my bills online, I've got something there where I could validate account numbers and validate PIN numbers. All right, so I would be able to reuse this class is what I'm telling you. All right, okay. So let's see. So now we have come in and we have validated our account number. All right, and we have validated our PIN number. Okay, so it is possible, coming up here, either one of these failed. In other words, either one of these didn't match anything, or again, as I mentioned, there was a matching account number, but the PIN number didn't match, or there was a matching PIN number, but the account number didn't match. So I just checked for this together, okay? So I said here, if bad account number or bad PIN number. So if either one of them failed, I said display bad account number or PIN number message. You notice I use really, really long names here. And that's done on purpose to make this program as self-documenting as possible. All right. Now, it is possible, we talked about this before. It is possible that a person came in here and put in this account number, okay, which means it was valid. Then it's also possible they put in this PIN number, but guess what? It's also going to be valid. They're both valid numbers. All right, they're both valid numbers. The key thing, though, is this. What we checked in here was the location, the LCV that we checked right there. And that was so now we set the valid account number location to that LCV, and we set the valid PIN number location to that LCV. So we have to also check in here to make sure they match. All right, so check for non-existent account number or PIN number. So I'm going to say account or PIN number. So here we're going to come in and we're going to check for non-matching account and PIN number. All right, so that's the next thing to do. So in other words, if the valid account number location, if that is not equal to the valid PIN number location, then we're again going to display the same thing we did up here. We're going to display add account number or PIN number message, and we're going to return. All right. If we get to that point, because we're almost done with this routine now, our main routine, our login. If we get down to here, there was a valid account number, there was a valid PIN number, and they matched the same customer. All right, we're going to write this one in just a minute. It's just basically, it's a message box. But if we get down to this point, what can we do? Well, we're going to rewrite our home screen, because remember, it might have an error message on it because something didn't match. All right, then we're going to make the screen active. So we're going to write all those right now. All right, and again, as we're going through this, if I miss something or if something doesn't make sense, please stop and ask me. Let's go first to this display bad account number or PIN number message. Again, long name. All right. And I know my stuff, you could say, man, that's all over the place here. It's hard when you've got so many different paths you can go down to put stuff in an order which will always make sense. All right, so I'm going to have, again, my string output str, and I'm going to set that equal to bad account number and or bad PIN number. All right. Output str plus equals, and then we'll just say \r \n, and we should be able to just say, please re-enter your info now. All right, and that's not enough. What do I mean? Well, we want to take everything that's in there and clear it out. So I'm going to say text box with our welcome info dot text. It's going to be equal to nothing. Okay. Why? So we can set it to that. So in fact, I wouldn't even really have to set it equal to nothing, but just to be clear. So but I'm going to come in here and say text box. Okay, try it again. It's got to be a little t. Text box welcome info dot text is now going to be equal to our output string. All right. Then we want to clear our login fields and we want to return. So we should now be able to test that. All right. So file, save all. So I'm going to come in here and run this again. All right. You've already seen it when there's nothing in there that it says this. You've already seen that. But I'm going to come in here now and put in 123-456-789, which is valid. And here I'm going to put in 5555. And you'll notice that it changes to bad account number and or bad PIN number. Please re-enter your info now. That's exactly what we wanted to have happen. All right. So I could put in here again 222-333-444. All right, something like that. And then I could put in something valid here, 3456, but I still get bad account number and or bad PIN number. And it basically clears it. One of the reasons that I wrote it in that way, just so you know, one of the reasons that I wrote it in that way was if somebody does happen to be trying, they find an ATM card and they're trying to get in with this stuff. All right. And they're just typing in a whole bunch of combinations or whatever. All right. Usually after 2 or 3 tries, they'll probably lock you out of the account anyway. But just in case that doesn't happen, okay, just in case that doesn't happen, I'm trying to put a little bit of protective measures in here. All right. So let's see. We did say that we want to rewrite the welcome screen and then make our screen active. Well, make screen active is right here and it's not very big. Whoops. So let's do that one next, and then we'll do the rewrite welcome screen. All right. So I want to be able to, for lack of better words, log in the user. Because they put in a valid account number and they put in a matching valid PIN number. So your logged in is now equal to true because guess what? You're logged in. All right. But I want to take the login button, which is button login dot enabled, and I want to set it to false because you're logged in already. I don't want you to be able to log out or to log in again. But I want to take your log out button and I want that now to be enabled. All right, so I have set this flag. Whoops, geez, Jeff. I have set this flag. I've set this flag right here that says I'm logged in. I've set that to true. I've disabled my login button and I have enabled, all right, my log out button. Well, there's 2 more buttons that I have to enable. because now that I'm logged in, I might want to deposit, I might want to withdraw. So I can say here button deposit dot enabled, that'll be true now, and button withdrawal dot enabled, that'll be true. All right. And again, wrap your head around that. And if it doesn't make sense, let me know. And I'm not even just saying you, Grant, anybody. So when we first start running the program, these here, all right, both of those and this, so the deposit, the withdrawal, and the logout should all be disabled. It's not possible to deposit when you're not logged in or withdraw, and you can't log in or log out if you're not logged in. So if this is valid and this is valid, then this should become disabled and these three should become enabled. Let's see if that works. So file, save all. And I think 123-456-789, I think it was 3456. And again, these are not disabled yet. We haven't written that code, but this should become disabled if this was correct. And it's 3456. And you'll notice that's now disabled. All right. And right now, if I click log out, nothing happens, and deposit, we haven't written that code yet. All right. But we did now just come in here and write that method. We came in and we wrote the make screen active. Now we've got to rewrite the welcome screen. Okay. So let's do that one next. Rewrite welcome screen. All right. And again, I'm just taking for granted that if something that's in here doesn't make sense, all right, if something doesn't make sense, you're going to let me know. All right. So one thing I could do, probably should have done, is back here in our load event where we set all this other stuff up here. Remember, we set those records? Well, this might even be a good place to say button deposit dot enabled is false, button withdrawal dot enabled is false, and button logout dot enabled is false. That may not be the right place to do it. I don't know. But I'm just saying at least that makes sense to do it there. I might find later that I have to move it or change it around. But now what you'll notice is after I did that, now when we start, those are both disabled. And I don't know what happened there, but we'll look at it in a minute. Oh, I did the log in instead of log out. Don't want to do that. So that should have been log out is disabled. All right, try that one more time. Let's do a file save and run it one more time. So the only button that should be operational now is the login button. Okay. And once I put in something that is valid now, 123-456-789 and 3456, when I hit enter or login in just a second, this should be enabled, this should be enabled, this should be enabled, that should become disabled. And it all works. All right. So we've got all of that stuff done, but what we don't have yet are three things. We don't have our welcome screen to say, hi, Mr. Scott, hi, whatever, and what your balance is. So we need to rewrite our welcome screen. We're going to do that next. Then we have to handle making a deposit and making a withdrawal. And that's what's left in here. All right. So let's do the rewrite welcome screen right now. Okay. All right. For the logout, okay, we could make this, we could grab our exit routine that we've used in other programs. I don't even remember what I did when I wrote it, but we could do stuff like that if we wanted to. All right. But there's probably a lot more that we want to do. So we'll go back and we'll rewrite that later. Okay. So for rewriting our welcome screen, which is up here a little bit. Here we go. And as it says, If we get to this place, the user entered both a valid account number and a valid PIN number, and they matched the same customer. So show the welcome message and the current user's balance. Okay. All right. So you're logged in, and that already probably is true, but I'm going to make sure it is by putting it to true right there. And again, I'm going to set up a welcome string. All right. So I'm going to have string, and I could call it anything. I've just been using output str. I could make different names for all of these. So I could say, you know, welcome. I could call this welcome str. I don't really care. So this will just say welcome, which should be spelled right. And then I'm going to add other stuff onto it. So and we have to get your title, we have to get your first name, we have to get your last name, we have to get your PIN number, we have to get your balance. All right, so we got to get all of that stuff. That's what we're going to do next. All right, when we get done with this, it probably is time for another break. So accounts, and we need to say, you know, basically the valid, I could either use here a valid account number or valid PIN number. I just use valid PIN number location. I want to make sure I'm getting the right stuff for that customer. And that's what I'm doing right there. All right, so that's, in fact, rather than get account number, which is what comes first, I'm going to call get title. All right, and again, calling that from my class. All right. Then let's add to that, not just title, but then let's do a get first name, then a get last name, then a get, well, we don't have to show their account number. All right, we don't have to do that. It really doesn't make much sense to do that. All right, so we really, right here, we can put down, we could put the information down if we want to. We could do that. All right, or, and I'm going to see what this looks like because I'm rewriting it again on the fly here. I'm just going to add to this. So we do each one of these. Let's see. I'm going to try to put a, after each one of them. Let's see, I want to do the first name. Otherwise, this is going to all run together. And a blank space. And then, so the title and then a blank space, and then the first name, and then a blank space, and then the last name. And let's do a \n here. So we go to a new line. That should just make sense. All right. And then we should be able to say, let's see, something like, in fact, we need a \r\n here because it's being put into a text box. All right. And I'm going to say, your current account balance is, and then another blank space. All right, and now we want to call get balance. Now it would be nice when we call get balance, okay, like this, to do a .toString and do it in currency format. All right, so if you would wrap your head around that, let's put another \r\n here. Does everything that's in there make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, let's see if that works. Well, I thought it was called you're logged in, but what I mean, what is it? Your login in. Okay, whatever. I guess I can't type. Prove that every day. So save all. Let's try it. 123-456-789 tab 3456. Okay, ain't printing nothing. So, oh, I never told it to print. That would probably be a good thing to do. So, text box, our welcome dot text equals the welcome string, or our output string. And we make sure our button login is disabled. All right. I'm just trying to cover all bases here for lack of better words. So file, save all. And let's run it again. So 123-456-789 and 3456. Log in. Welcome, Ms. Sandy Scott. There's your balance. All right. That appears to work. I'm going to run it one more time without errors, but I'm going to put in a different customer. So I'm going to put in Ms. Chloe Scott right here. So I want this stuff to be in there. All right. So I want it to say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc., etc. But I want to take that 7890 and I want to put that in here. Log in, Chloe Scott, and there's your balance. Wow, she's got over $1 million. Okay, but hopefully then you get the idea. So right now, the only thing that we really have left to do is to allow them to make a deposit and allow them to make a withdrawal. And that's not a little thing. All right. But we've now covered valid and invalid logins. And when there is a valid login, we're giving them their correct account information. What we want to do is if you come in here and you put in 1,000, right now, if you hit deposit, nothing happens. But if we put in here 1,000, we want this to go up by $1,000. All right. And with same thing with withdrawal. And we want to make sure also when they withdraw that they are not, when they withdraw, they can't go under $25. And we have to make our login work, or log out, I should say. So we've already written a lot of code. I mean, heck, it's already up to 300 and some lines. All right. And I will ask, as I try to do all the time, because we're going to do the deposit next, are there any questions on anything that we've done thus far?
No.
Okay, again, and I realize, it's like, man, yeah, this is a lot to wrap your arms around. And you know what? It sure is. All right. So let's take a break. It's 10:03. Let's come back. Let's make it 10:15, and we'll see if by 11 o'clock we can finish this up. All right, so as mentioned before, we've now got this functionality here all in. So we have to do the deposit, the withdrawal, and the log out. So let's start with the deposit. So this is what's going to happen if the person attempts to make a deposit. Now, I might have gone a little nuts here, but I'd rather worry about security and do too much than not do enough. So I've got my old-fashioned bool keep going in here. All right, and I set it equal to logged in or not. All right, because I only want to allow the user to deposit something if indeed they're logged in. That it shouldn't be an issue because they should be prohibited from doing it if they're not logged in anyway, but just to be sure. So if keep going. So in other words, if they are logged in, I'm going to call attempt the deposit. Okay, and remember, we talked about this before, that it is possible that the user could try to do something wrong when they were doing a deposit and then return. But I'm just going to say here, even though it's a little redundant, I'm going to say else. Well, they're not logged in, so I'm just going to say else return. Probably it would just return there anyway, but that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything to put that in. All right. So if you're going to make a deposit, we want to make sure that you are logged in. All right. So as it says, this method then, the next one, will actually come in there and will attempt the deposit. All right. So again, I did this thing and I did it basically as a try catch. All right. So what the heck does that mean? Well, look, I came in here and said try. And again, if for some reason it didn't work, I've got a catch in here and I'll do a catch on just exception, just a generic exception EX. All right. And all I'm going to do is just return because that's handled inside of the program. Remember, inside of this attempt or make deposit that we're about to call. So the deposit is equal to, well, they're putting in a number, but remember, it's the number they're putting in is inside of a text box. So it should be convert dot to decimal. What's in that text box? So text box deposit dot text. All right. And then what we're going to be attempting to do, I don't know how I got this attempt deposit equal this, but I should have just said deposit. And it's not recognizing it, so I have to create it. So decimal deposit. I could give it a default value. I'm not going to give it any, well, I can give it 0M, I guess. All right. So I'm saying the deposit is equal to this, convert. All right. Now, really, you could say, well, yeah, but shouldn't that have been a parse? We're doing the parse inside of the make deposit thing itself. So this is going to say accounts valid. Oh, sorry, let me put that on a new line. Sorry about that. Valid. What is it? Valid. Again, I can use either account number or PIN number. I just happen to use PIN for most of these. So valid PIN num loc dot make deposit. And I'm going to pass in there the deposit. All right. And after I do that, I want to rewrite the welcome screen. Why? Because assuming they put in something valid, I want to update the amount that they have in there. So indeed, it's showing that. Now, the only thing I'm not sure if I've written or not, because I can't remember, is the logged in or not. All right. So I don't know if that's up here, but I'm going to double check. And otherwise, we're going to run it, see what it looks like right now. but I'm calling this logged in or not. And if it hasn't been written. So let's write that quickly. And then we'll go and try it and see if when we make a deposit, see if it works. All right. And if it does, all right, we'll see, like I said, if it does work, then we'll go on and we'll do the one with the withdrawal. So if, again, if not, you're logged in. Again, I've got here login in. I don't know how the heck I put that in there, but it's bad the way it is. So I'll fix that a little later. But if you're not logged in, this welcome box or welcome info.text is going to be equal to you are not logged in \r\n plus, and then we're just going to put it over 2 lines like this. And I'm going to say you cannot make a transaction. And that should make sense. You're not logged in, so you can't do anything. All right, so this logged in or not, well, will return false. And again, if we get outside of this, it will return true. And because I'm trying to be a little bit consistent, I really should have done a bool retval here that I said equal to true. And here I would have said retval equal false and return retval. All right. And at least in my comings and goings as a programmer, all right, that's considered a cleaner way because again, there's only one return statement as opposed to having a return here and a return here. All right. So I have no idea if it'll work or not, but we can try it. Now, again, this may end up blowing up if we put nothing in there. We're going to find out right now. All right, so we're in Sandy Scott. She's got $10,000. Let's attempt to put in $200. And it's been upgraded to 200, 10,200. So valid works. What if we leave it empty? Nothing's happening. I thought it would print. I thought we had a message box for that, which doesn't appear to be printing. What if we put in this? Again, nothing is happening. That's actually a good thing. It's not printing all those message boxes, which I thought we'd put in there, but it's also not handling it. That's good. All right. So again, if I come back here, it's doing the upgrading. Okay, so we've got that part done, and I'll have to go back and look at those error messages to see what's going on there. But let's go in now and let's do the withdrawal, which will be done in much the same way. All right, so we've already come in and done the deposit, attempt deposit, etc. Now we're going to do a withdrawal and attempt the withdrawal. All right, so we're right here. This method actually attempts the withdrawal. So this is when you click the withdrawal button. It'll be set up almost exactly like the other one. So bool, keep going, equal. We'll first make sure they're logged in. So logged in or not. And if keep going, what that does too is it protects us. So just in case somehow, all right, somebody was, these buttons were on. In other words, the person was logged out, let's say, but for some reason the buttons were on. It should never happen. I'm just trying to be as protective as I can in here. So this will be attempt the withdrawal and return. And again, even though it's redundant, else return. All right, so let's attempt the withdrawal. And as it says here, whoops, where is attempt the withdrawal? Oh, that's attempt the withdrawal. All that code should have been put up above. I apologize. So all that code should go in here in our withdrawal button. All right. So now we're going to come in and actually attempt the withdrawal. And again, it will be similar in many ways to what we just did with the deposit. So I'm going to say decimal withdrawal. We'll set that equal to 0M. All right. And another try catch in here. And again, since we're hopefully handling it inside of the routine itself, and maybe we're not, I don't know. This isn't exactly running the way I thought it was going to run, but that's okay. I'm just going to return here. I think that's what we did up here as well. Yes. There. All right. So come in here and steal this code. It's not the same thing because we're doing a withdrawal now. So withdrawal equals convert to decimal txt withdrawal.txt. And instead of make deposit, it's going to be make withdrawal. And we are going to pass it in the withdrawal. All right, rewrite our welcome screen. Okay, let's see if that works. So file, save all. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice when I do this, this didn't persist. We have not yet talked about databases or files, so we're not saving this stuff. So even though we did a deposit earlier, all right, if you remember, I came in and did something like this. So let's put in 25. Whoops, not there. Let's come in here and put in 25,000. This should go to 35 now, and it does. Now, if I come in here, probably should have tried clearing that out too, but it's not. Let's take out 30,000. See if it goes down to 5,000, and it does. All right, let's try to take out all 5,000. This should not work. All right, insufficient funds for withdrawal. So that part's working. All right, so in other words, we can put in here $4,975. That should work because we're down to $25 now. All right, so now it at least appears as though our deposit works and our withdrawal works. All right, you'll notice again, if I put in this, those message boxes aren't being hit. So all of that code that I put in here earlier, you may or may not remember. I'd have to find, oh, it's in the class. In our make deposit and our make withdrawal. All right, earlier I put in all these checks. And you'll remember this never came up with illegal numeric deposit, okay? So it might have been just cleaner that if it wasn't numeric, just return. And then we have no need for a try catch or for what else, the other stuff we were doing. All right. Now I didn't try this. Let's try an illegal deposit here and see if it catches that. All right. And this unknown error, yeah, we can leave that in. But again, right here where we attempt to do this, if you can't do the convert, just do that. And I'll try an illegal withdrawal too, and I'll see if it catches both those. If it doesn't, then I don't need those message boxes. So let's do a save and run it again. We're coming to the tail end of this, so. So again, if we come in here and we attempt to do a negative $45, okay, illegal deposit, that's good. And if we attempt to do it in here, illegal withdrawal. So we do need those. All right, so that's good. So all that stuff again is working. All right, I could be wrong here, but let's see. The insufficient funds, that worked. I don't think that unknown error should probably ever be getting hit, but it's okay. I don't think that I can come into a class like this and say TXT, TEXT something. All right. Because if I put that in and I put in, for example, withdrawal dot text, notice it's not finding it because I'm in the class right now and there is no way because I haven't, even though the class can use, I'm sorry, even though the GUI can use the class methods can't access the GUI directly. All right. So the only thing that's left to do, to my knowledge at least, the only thing that's left to do in here is to do the logout. So I'm doing a save all. I want to double check and make sure I didn't leave any code out of here. Now, I don't know how you do this, how anybody does it here, but if it helps you, hit the print screen button now and do a screenshot of the first 20 lines. Then you've got those if you want them, and if you don't, totally fine. Then I'll go down to the constructor and you can do the same thing. So you might have 10 or 15 screenshots in here, but you have all the code if you do need to go back and look at it. All right. Then we've got our first set of getters, which is our title, our first name, and our last name. Then we've got the next set, which is our account number, our PIN, and our get balance. Then finally, we've got our make deposit, which is a little bit bigger. All right. And we've got all that and that. The good news is the make withdrawal is very similar. So once you've written one, yeah, there are a few other things you have to check. You have to make sure you don't withdraw so that you've got less than $25 left. And that was in here someplace where we did that amount left. Okay. And that's it. That's it for the class. All right. So let's quickly finish this up. And I want to, like I said, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So again, there were our constants, number of customers, and our list. Customers is the constant, list is a variable. We've got this. Do we have a valid account number location? Hopefully now you see why those were both set to -1, because we don't, if I set them to 0, that is a valid location. -1 is not. And this I should just change to, instead of that, you're logged in. That might mean I have to change it in a few places in my code, but at least it'll be cleaner that way. Then we wrote the log, when you click the login method, we called login. There were 3 possible ways this could go bad. Nothing in either text box, nothing in one text box, nothing in the other text box. That's 3 ways right there. Something in the account number, but it didn't match anything. That's a 4th way. Something in the PIN, but it didn't match anything. That's a 5th way. Something, a valid account number and a valid PIN number, but not for the same customer. That's a 6th way. All right. So we first checked to see if anything was missing, and if it was, we just returned. Then we went in and we validated the account number, and we immediately validated the PIN number. And we checked, and if either one of them were invalid, all right, meaning that they were bad, we displayed an error message and we did a return. If they were both matching, but they didn't match the same customer, we gave an error message and we returned. So if we get down to here, it was a valid login, it was a valid PIN, and the PIN went with the login. Okay, so let me go down here and change this to where it actually should be. So now it says you're logged in, which is what it should have said to begin with. All right, so when we make the screen active, okay, we set a flag, we set our login button to false, we set our log out, our deposit, and our withdrawal buttons to true. Again, not that the order doesn't matter here, but let's do it like that. That's the order in which they are on the screen. You don't have to do it in that order though. Then we came in and again said, is there any login information missing? We first set up our error message. Then we said, if either there's nothing in the account number or there's nothing in the PIN number, those text boxes, we printed out that message We cleared out everything. Again, I don't know why I did a ret val true there, but it's just the way I wrote it. And we return the ret val. All right. Then when we validate it, nice and short. If you find a match, log where it was and return. For validating the PIN number, it was the same thing. If you find a match, grab the location and return. All right. This was our display, a bad account or bad PIN number. And again, as I mentioned, we wanted to put a generic message in there. So that's what's done. All right. This cleared out the login fields. There were just two of them, the account number and the PIN number, and we reset the focus to the account number. All right. Oops. Then this would rewrite that welcome screen for us. So if the user is logged in, it would say, welcome, Mr. Scott, Mr. Jeff Scott, your current account balance is, and it would have my balance. It would put it in the text box according, that one puts it in to here, right there. And we then disabled our login button, okay? We just did the make a deposit, and you attempted to come in here, and again, we call the class method make deposit. If for some reason it didn't work, we're not doing anything with that EX, but we're just returning. Then we did the withdrawal, and again, they were done the same way. All right. We've got our logged in or not. Oops. Thought that was it. So right. And if you're not logged in, you can't do anything. Now let's do our log out, and then we'll be finished with this. All right. So for our log out button, all right, as you'd guess, that's what happens when we click the log out button. So I wrote a routine called log out. All right, and that's going to be down here, and it'll be a little L. So I like to be consistent with the way I write. So again, that should be a little L. So as it says, this method is called when the user clicks the log out application button to possibly log out of the prototype. So we're in here. We have to write the log out, we have to write blank out the screen, and we're finished. So when we log out, as it says here, go back up. This method will allow the person running the program to end the transaction run if desired. It is called by either the exit button or by the application menu if we put a menu onto this. All right. Not super long, maybe 10 or 15 lines. So in the logout routine, we will first prompt the user to see if she or he wants to end program now. All right. This is the same kind of stuff we've always done. So if message box dot show, do you really, I'm writing it like this because I want, we've been using the generic one, but I want to say, do you really want to log out? We've never done that kind of thing before. All right. And we will put in here, just log out now. Like that. And I will add into here the yes, no button. We've always been using okay, but there is a yes, no. Yes, we do want to log out. No, we don't. I think we've been using that one for the exit button too. So, so buttons got yes, no. And finally, this is a question. So I'm going to say message box icon dot question. Let's let the Intellisense fill that out. So what we said there is it's going to come up when we click the logout button with the message box. It says, do you really want to log out? If you pressed yes, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to blank out our screen. And that will be by calling blank out all things on screen. That's the one we're going to write next. Again, we could have done it here, but I tried to be modular. So now the you're logged in is equal to false. All right, that particular flag that we created. And we're going to kind of reverse what we did before. So we want our button login dot enabled to be equal to true, but we want the other stuff to be all set to false. So button log out, oops. Let's again do them in order. So button deposit dot enabled equal false. Button withdrawal dot enabled is going to be false. What else do we have? We've got our button logout dot enabled, and that'll be equal to false. And we can take and set the focus. So text box account number dot focus. All right. Now, I'm not going to run it yet because the first thing we're calling is blank out all things on screen. We haven't written that yet. That's down here. That's the last thing to do. All right. And we could have taken that stuff and done it down here, etc. Again, it's just the way I wrote it. But this is going to blank out the screen. There's 5 or 6 lines. So text box, our welcome info dot text, we'll set it equal to nothing. Our text box deposit dot text, we'll set that equal to nothing. Our text box withdrawal dot text, we'll set that equal to nothing. What else do we have? We've got our account number and we've got our PIN number. So those should really go up here, but that's fine. So our text box account number dot text is going to be equal to nothing. Our text box PIN number dot text is going to be equal to nothing. And we can set the focus again to our account number. All right, so we have already tested this in that, and hopefully you're okay with everything we've done as far as it does handle errors, etc. All right, so I'm going to do one last thing, and that is I'm going to log in. I'm just going to do a simple transaction, then I'm going to log out. So I'm logging in, that's active, that is not, that is not, that is not. Let's grab somebody else here that we haven't used yet, so. All right, we'll use Kinsey. Add, and it's 6789, and she should have $5,678.95. 90 cents, sorry. And she does. That is now inactive, that is active, that is active. So let's give her $1,000. Deposit that. That is now 6. Let's go in there and remove $5,000. And that worked. Again, I should clear these out and I didn't. So now let's log out. Do you really want to log out? Yes, we do. So I'll say yes. Everything is blanked out. These buttons are disabled, that is enabled, and there's my focus. And that is your program. Now that was a lot to throw at you, and with putting in some extra comments and breaking stuff up over multiple lines like I did, now it's it's more than 400 lines. But again, if you remove the blank lines in here and the comments, etc., it'd be more like 300. So hopefully you can see why I decided not to give you every one of these assignments, and I decided to do a lot of them with you. All right. So on Monday, we will be doing this job thing. That looks like this. So you come in here and you put in a job. All right. Wash windows. The hours to complete are 2. The hourly rate is $20. So that should be 2 times 20, which would be 40. Plus you charge a trip fee to go over there. So it should be $75 to do that. As you can see, the interface is a little bit more simplistic. So what I am going to try to do by Monday is not only go through this one with you, but by Monday, I will try to have written the pretest. And I will email that to you, but I will also go through that on Monday. So you have, for your homework, you've got to do all 6 of the problems that are in ch12_labs_new.docx. Out of those 6 problems, again, we have gone through together now, number 1, lab 1, the flashcards, lab 3, the bank login, lab 4, the game break, and on Monday, we'll go through lab 5, the job estimate. So the only ones you are technically writing from scratch all by yourselves will be number 2, and there's enough work there. The store inventory, and the last one, I believe it was number 6, which is the tile estimate. And I will be available next week if you've got questions on that. But again, tomorrow will be lab for the entire period. Monday, I will go over this job estimate with you. We will write it from scratch. Tuesday will be lab for the entire period. Wednesday will be your hands-on test for the entire period. I'm sorry, Wednesday we will go over the pretest starting at 9:30. Thursday will be your hot 6, the hands-on test. Next Friday again will be a lab. These 6 problems that you see here, along with the 1 problem that you have, again, I believe that's all there was for chapter 12. 12.1, there's just 1. All right, so that one will be your homework. So you will have 6 lab problems, 1 homework problem, and as always, the written tests. All right, Chad, thanks for sticking around. Do you have any questions on anything we've done? Anything you need to see again or you need repeated or clarified?
I don't think right now, no. Thank you.
Okay, like I said, it's a big bite that you have to take to get into this stuff. And you're starting to see too how our programs are getting much more complex. All right. What you're going to find is, I believe, I could be wrong here, but I believe for the rest of the semester, I think the test for chapter 12 has 2 questions on it. All right. And one of them is a little harder than the other. But I believe once we get done with that, we'll have a test on 13 through 16. And I think that's 1 problem. We probably won't have any tests I'll probably give you a worksheet or something for 17 and 18. And you will probably have 1 test for the database stuff. But though all that stuff will be just 1 problem. This stuff starts to explode, and there's way too much that you have to key in. All right, I don't care if you got 4 hours or 4 days. It's just so easy to make a mistake on there. Okay, so with that said, again, I'll be online tomorrow, but I will not be online until about 9:30 because, again, got to stop at the DMV and get my driver's license renewed. So I will be online. I will be online tonight. I usually stay on till 9, between 9 and 10 o'clock. And I check my email usually every 15 minutes or so if you've got questions, or if you've got questions on the weekend. All right, with that said, thanks for sticking around. I will see you on Monday.